My name is Samai Raina, and I am the darkest comedian alive. To the outside world, I'm an ordinary Kashmiri Pandit, but secretly, with the help of my friends at the Habitat, I make the vilest, filthiest jokes that are guaranteed to make you laugh. This last week, I've been fighting the Twitter mob and the Indian media to save the love of my life. India's got latent, and I am the only one dark enough to save it. I am the Samai. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. Marcus Aurelius. Internet is the last closest thing to free speech people of India will ever see. If the government steps in to regulate what can and cannot be said on the internet, we risk losing a fundamental right essential for a functioning society. That is why we should fight to protect it. Before talking about the situation, let's understand why dark jokes work. Every joke has an intended audience. For example, knock-knock jokes have the widest audience because they are simple and easy for everyone to understand. However, after hearing them repeatedly, they lose their humor. Similarly, in stand-up comedy, every comedian appeals to a particular set of audience. Many comedians start with relatable topics like workplace experiences, school, or college life. These have a broad audience because most people can connect with them. But as audiences become familiar with these jokes, they may stop finding them funny. To keep things fresh, comedians move to more specific topics, like their romantic lives or sex, which naturally have a narrower audience. Then they might joke about alcohol or weed, further filtering their audience. This process continues until comedians start making jokes about the most uncomfortable and taboo subjects, resulting in the smallest but most engaged audience. This is dark humor. This evolution doesn't happen overnight. It typically takes 7 to 10 years for a comedian to refine their craft and build an audience that appreciates their darkest, most boundary-pushing material. The people fueling the outrage haven't been on the internet long enough to understand why their reaction is misguided. Ranveer Allahabadiya made a joke in the form of a hypothetical question to a contestant on a show hosted by stand-up comedian Samai Raina. The question was along the lines of, would you rather watch your... The question essentially touched on an uncomfortable topic related to incest, which wasn't received very well. People created memes calling out Ranveer for alleged hypocrisy as he presents himself as highly spiritual while making such controversial jokes. This quickly escalated into backlash against both him and Samai on Twitter, which was soon picked up by mainstream media. Then outraged middle-aged critics jumped in, adding fuel to the controversy, which now led to the show shutting down, multiple FIRs against Samai, Ranveer and the entire panel of the show. And the Supreme Court and the Indian government are pushing for internet censorship in the name of saving the Indian culture. But I can't seem to understand where are the culture protectors when problems like increasing suicide rates, poor air quality, and women's safety are treated as a joke in this country, or when spiritual and religious leaders are openly passing fascist remarks on a podcast whose ideology is dangerously close to a certain individual from the history books.
लाइन कैसे तय होगी? एक गलती पर उनको माफ कर देना चाहिए,
साफ कर देना चाहिए।
मतलब
आपसे ऐसी कोई गलती हो जिससे सनातन हिंदू धर्म को घाटा हो, तो माफ की जगह साफ कर देना चाहिए। हम इसके पक्ष में हैं।
बहुत गहरी बात बोल रहे हैं आप।
हाँ, इसलिए कि आपकी एक गलती से करोड़ों हिंदुओं का दिल टूटेगा, करोड़ों सनातनियों का दिल टूटेगा। और हमको अब ऐसा बोलना नहीं चाहिए लोगों को, हमारी विचारधारा के बारे में बहुत उल्टा असहजता महसूस होगी, लेकिन हमको कई बार ना कोरोना समय पे किंग जॉन बहुत अच्छा लगा,
नॉर्थ कोरिया वाला।
हाँ, वो आदमी बहुत ऊंचा था। वो कह रहा है जितने को कोरोना है उनको सीताराम, बस हो गया, बढ़ेगा ही नहीं आगे।
India seems to be heading down a troubling path, and at the end of it, the future doesn't look particularly bright. This will set a dangerous precedent, allowing the government to remove any content under the guise of obscenity. It could even be used as a tool to silence criticism, labeling their voices as inappropriate or offensive. My point is, you can criticize, condemn, or boycott if you think what Ranveer said was wrong. They should never have faced any legal consequence of this. There are much more pressing matters to shine light on than a stupid fucking joke. Pardon my French. Psych ban me, bitch. All the panel members of that episode are getting immense hate online and offline, especially Samay, Ranveer and Apurva Makhija, even though Apurva had nothing to do with the joke. In total, the panel have received 99 plus FIRs, countless death and rape threats even to the families and friends of the panel members. A bit hypocritical, don't you think?
There's a lot of comedic drama happening in India right now.
Yes.
This started popping up on my socials because anytime somebody gets like canceled for a joke abroad, especially, I get tagged in like posts that have like lettering I don't understand. And like it's always something in the translate is like, oh, if you think this is bad. Right? Did you get those as well? It's like,
no,
you think this
first
is bad?
I got
Watch some Schultz stuff.
You gotta save your boy or something. And they added Ranveer Alabadia, who I've mentioned on this podcast. He's like a big podcast.
That's Beer Biceps.
Beer Biceps. He's India's Rogan.
Oh, wow.
And so he's a big deal. He said, like, hey, I only started podcasting because of Joe Rogan. He's a sweet kid.
Respect.
Helped me get
and
to the
you did the pod with him, and that
I've
shit
done his
blew
pod
up.
in 2 episodes. But then there's this other Indian comedian, Samay Reina. Very funny kid. He won like India's version of Last Comic Standing, but it matters over there.
Okay.
Joke writer, purist, like loves the craft. He started the show similar to Kill Tony, but he gives Kill Tony credit.
Yeah.
It's a crossover of Kill Tony and India's Got Talent a little bit. It's called India's Got Latent. Latent doesn't matter. It's just like a play on the word talent.
Yeah.
But the idea is not just comedy. You as a contestant come up, you do a talent.
Yeah.
Before you do the talent, you give yourself what score you think you'll get on a 1 to 10. So if you are self-aware and you're like, I'm a 4, and we didn't like your act and we give you a 4, even if we thought you're a piece of shit and that's why we gave you a 4, you could still win. Because your score, it's not about who's the best, it's about who's got the most self-awareness. It's a really clever concept.
I just want to point out one thing.
That's dope.
Tony, before you get upset that somebody has, taken your show, I just want to point something out. This is very serious right here. India has taken Superman, Batman, every Marvel movie, every huge billion-dollar blockbuster movie they've made into Bollywood. Yeah. And now they're doing it with Kill Tony.
And he's a fan and he gives Tony credit.
But that's the ultimate sign of respect. Where an Indian cultural institution has taken your concept and ran with it.
My understanding is he's truly like, these people can't make it to India to do Kill Tony. Let's bring Kill Tony over here. And the show, it goes bonkers. I'm talking like, it's India, but like
it makes like $3,000 a year.
No,
so
not dollars.
You deserve royalties on that.
Not dollars, but views, 20 million a net. It's like fucking insanely big. It becomes a part of the zeitgeist.
Like the cultural conversation.
Yeah. Samay becomes this massive star. He was already a good comic, respected, but now he's out of here.
Right.
One episode they're doing, and just like Kill Tony, he's got his guests who are celebrities. One episode they're doing, Ranveer Alabadi, who's a sweet kid, asks the contestant a hypothetical. Hey, would you rather watch your parents have sex forever or join in to make it stop?
Oof.
Seems like a fun hypothetical. All of a sudden, there's this massive uproar. They're threatened with going to jail, legal issues. It's like getting FIR, I forget what that stands for, but essentially like we're preparing a legal case against you. Ranveer's parents, like people are...
So it's not even Samay?
Both are getting threatened, but Ranveer...
he didn't even say the joke.
No.
Ranveer said the joke.
And people who were at the taping said, Ranveer, after he said it, checked in on the guy. He's like, hey, that didn't hurt your feelings. Burra nahi laga, which is like, you didn't mind that too much. That wasn't too bad for you, right? Checks in again after the episode. Hey, you're okay with that? The guy's like, yeah, it's all good. They keep in the episode. Suddenly it just becomes this massive case of how dare you put something that obscene in entertainment. India has the most violent fucking movies. There's a movie called Animal that came out in 2023. Great movie. Yeah. It's maybe the most violent movie I've ever seen in my life.
But they're killing Muslims.
No, other Indians, which is a problem. Joking about Muslims probably okay, but... And there's also, Indian comics have gone to jail for making jokes about like that are adjacent. A Muslim comic went to jail for making jokes that's like adjacent to Hinduism, and not even really.
So they're going through their comedy struggle, which happens in every country. Like this happened in America too.
Yeah.
I understand things are going to be inflated there at a different level, and there's probably going to be more severe actions taken. But like it's not to say that this isn't a common occurrence historically. Like there have been American comedians that got arrested for, what is it, the 7 deadly words or whatever it is.
7 words you can't say on television.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not potentially way worse there, but what I am saying is it is common that as comedy pops up in a country and you start to say things that the society or culture does not digest with great frequency.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people not really understanding like the intention is to make people laugh. There is this knee-jerk rebellion, this knee-jerk reaction that is oftentimes negative and punitive.
There's a lot of people who have no idea what stand-up is, and they're getting offended by this. But two things are different. One,
and sorry, they don't have free speech as like a core.
That is the second difference. First difference is back then they're not going to dox you. There's no internet. You can find out who Lenny Bruce's mom is. Ranveer is like, his mom is a doctor. People are pretending to be patients coming in and then like threatening and whatever. Second difference is there is not a constitutional right to free speech. India's constitution, I'm going to fuck this up a little bit, but it's essentially like you have the right to make your speech and they have the right to get offended, and then we can kick it up to the legal battle and see what's going to happen. It seems like legally they're going to side against the comics and say the reaction toward them is not okay. You can't take violent action on your own, but these people should be censored. So that is where I'm not going to speak ill of the Indian government because I'm terrified of them. Whatever God bless. Yeah, absolutely. Whatever fear you have about Candace Owens, 100x. So, yeah, guys, hey, no ill will here.
That's not a knock on you, Candace. All right? Listen, we have a lot of fear, and we want to make sure that you keep on doing the great work that you're doing about the Baldoni case and also about Macron. Anyway, back to this.
But what I will say is freedom of speech is not a real thing in India. It doesn't exist like that. Right. So if you are a comedian, that's a real fucking issue. I don't know any solution other than get the fuck out, because they're going to pass a law. And I don't know if this is anything, I'm not speculating at all, but, keep my family safe. But they're going to eventually pass a law that is, you don't get to say what you want as a comic. We get to dictate what
was the answer to the hypothetical?
I don't remember.
I cannot show you the rest of this clip because they were joking and laughing about Ranveer's controversial question. How dare they? Stand-up shows are being cancelled nationwide, affecting even comedians who have no connection to Samay or the controversy. If this continues, many Indian comedians may choose to move abroad, where they can perform freely and earn a living. Smaller comedians who rely on local platforms to grow will struggle to find opportunities, potentially leading to the unavoidable death of stand-up culture in India. And you still can't understand why censorship is wrong. Just smash the device you're watching this video on your head. You don't need your brain anyways.
Decap जैसी भाई ये माइक पे बोल एन करा मेसी चुप रह मांगा नहीं फीडबैक कभी सारे चुप पे माइक से करा टी बैक क्योंकि यहाँ कभी रैप तो मारे फी कैस कभी टी डे कभी चुप न मेरे लिरिक्स टी बैक कभी जिनका पहला गाना शायद उनका हिट था कभी बोले बेस्ट टू बंडन ने तो कीप ट्राइंग कभी तेरा भाई सीधा मौत का शीशा कभी आना बीच में ना बीच देंगे गुड टॉक कभी और सॉस तेरे टेस्ट के लिए तीखा है कभी ऑन स्नैप एंड टीम एंड स्ट्री लाइक कभी Make it ticket up, man, I got it figured up.
Disappoint your parents again?
I know, bro. Shit.
Oh, that sucks.
I wonder why he
That's
left.
what's funny to me. We hear this on fucking public radio in America, and there it's unbelievable. How could you?